Today I am going to explain you about intelligence testing and aptitude testing. We will start from intelligence testing. What is intelligence? Is it getting good marks? Is it about communicating with people smartly? Is it getting good and high formal education? Or is it earning a big salary? We generally think that intelligence refers to getting high grades in academics. But if we look at the definition of intelligence, we will realize that intelligence is much more than that. There are many definitions given by various authors. We will see the comprehensive definition given by David Wechsler in 1944, who also has devised an adult intelligence test. According to Wechsler, intelligence is the aggregate or global capacity of an individual to act purposefully, to think rationally, and to deal effectively with his environment. If you look at the words given in the definition, you will be able to understand the concept of intelligence. It is an aggregate, or we can say overall holistic capacity, and of three aspects. Number one, to act purposefully, that is, decide your action based on the demands and needs of the situation. Number two, think rationally, that is, thinking based on some reasoning, logic. And number three, to deal effectively with his environment, that is, getting adjusted, adapted to the environment in which he or she lives. So now you must have understood that what we generally consider as an intelligence, like score in exam or formal education as mentioned at the starting, are part of intelligence and not the whole intelligence. There are many theories of intelligence given by various theorists. I will introduce the names of those theories briefly. There are factor theories of intelligence like unitary theory, which claims that intelligence consists of one factor, a fund of intellectual competence, which is universal to all activities of the individual. Then multi-factor theory by E.L. Thorndike suggests that intelligence is a combination of numerous separate elements or factors, each one being a minute element of one ability. Next is Spearman's two-factor theory, according to which each intellectual activity involves two factors, a general factor G, which it shares with all intellectual activities, and a specific factor S, which is related to specific abilities like mathematical skills. There are many other factor theories like group factor theory by L.L. Thurston, sampling theory by G.H. Thompson, Vernon's hierarchical theory, Guilford's SOI model, that is structure of intellect model, which concluded that every intellectual activity can be described in terms of three basic dimensions. Number one, operations, that is act of thinking. Number two, contents, the term in which we think, like words or symbols. And number three, product, the ideas we come up with. Also, there are some cognitive theories of intelligence like Cattell and Horn's theory of intelligence, in which concepts of fluid and crystallized intelligence is given, Jensen's theory of mental functioning, Campion and Brown's theory of intelligence, Sternberg's information processing theory of intelligence, Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence, in which different types of intelligence are given like linguistic intelligence, logical mathematical intelligence, musical intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, intrapersonal and interpersonal intelligence. So, these are the theories of intelligence. Now, we will discuss about measurement of intelligence. You might be thinking that can we measure the intelligence? The answer is yes. Then, how can we measure the intelligence? We can measure it with the help of intelligence test or IQ test. So, first we will see what is intelligence testing and then history of intelligence testing. Intelligence test is a series of tasks designed to measure the capacity to make abstractions, to learn and to deal with novel situations. What is IQ? Intelligence quotient. Intelligence test is scored in terms of intelligence quotient or IQ, a concept first suggested by German psychologist William Stern and adopted by Levi Sterman in Stanford Binet scale. The IQ was originally computed as the ratio of a person's mental age of his chronological age multiplied by 100. Mental age is calculated based on the performance on intelligence testing. So, the formula of IQ is equal to mental age upon chronological age into 100. For example, If a child of 10 years has a mental age of 12 years, that is, he or she performed on the test at the level of an average 12-year-old child, then the child was assigned an IQ of 12 upon 10 into 100 is equal to 120. So, his IQ is considered as 120. The concept of intelligence quotient, popularly known as IQ, is first suggested by German psychologist William Stern. Now, we learn about the nature of intelligence test scores. Intelligence test scores follow an approximately normal distribution, with most people scoring near the middle of the distribution curve and scores dropping off fairly rapidly in frequency away from the curve center. For example, on the IQ scale, about 2 out of 3 scores fall between 85 and 115, and about 19 out of 20 scores fall between 70 and 130. A score of about 130 or above is considered gifted, while a score below about 70 is considered mentally deficient or intellectually disabled. As I said earlier, now we will see the history of intelligence testing. Paul Broca and Sir Francis Galton were among the first scientists to think about measuring intelligence. They thought they could determine intelligence by measuring the size of the human skull. They assumed that the larger the skull, the smarter the person. Then William Wundt used introspection, the human ability to reflect on their own thoughts, as the measure of intelligence. The first modern intelligence test in IQ history was developed in 1904 by Alfred Binet and Theodore Simon. French Ministry of Education asked these researchers to develop a test that would allow for distinguishing mentally handicapped children from normally intelligent but lazy children. This first intelligence test is still known as Binet-Simon scale. Based on observations during research, Binet suggested the concept of mental age, or a measure of intelligence based on the average abilities of children of a certain age group. Binet quickly realized that some children were able to answer more advanced questions than older children were generally able to answer. At the same time, they noticed that some children were not able to answer the questions which other children of their age were able to answer, while some children were able to answer the questions formed for younger children only. Based on this observation, Binet suggested the concept of mental age. The score for the IQ test, in combination with a child's age, provides information on the intellectual development of the child, that is, if the child ahead of or lagging other children. The IQ was calculated as mental age upon chronological age into 100. It is proved as a measure of intelligence based on the average abilities of children of a certain age group. Then, the next important milestone in the history of intelligence testing was US adaptation of Binet-Simon test. American psychologist from Stanford University, Lewis Terman, standardized the Binet-Simon test using a sample of American participants. This adapted test was first published in 1916. The test is called as Stanford Binet Intelligence Scale. It evaluates persons of 2 years of age and older and is designed for use primarily with children. It consists of an age-graded series of problems whose solution involves arithmetical, memory and vocabulary skills. Thus, a subject whose mental age and chronological age both are identical has an IQ of 100 and falls under the category of average intelligence. Now, after the history, we will learn the popular and widely used intelligence tests, their brief descriptions and uses of intelligence testing. We will start from intelligence tests. The most widely used intelligence tests are Stanford Binet Intelligence Scale and Wechsler scales. We will see these two tests as well as other useful tests one by one. For age group 3 to 5 years, there are two tests to measure intelligence. Number 1, SFB, that is Sanguine Form Board tests, in which the child has to put the blocks at appropriate place in the tray as per its shape, and based on the performance, IQ is calculated. And number 2 is Binet-Comet test, in which various verbal and non-verbal tasks are given and Hindi Marathi adaptations are available. For age group elder than 4 years, there are many tests. We will learn one by one. ICIT, Indian Child Intelligence Test for 4 to 12 years. Adaptation in English, Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, Tamil is available. Children's Intelligence Battery. It is an Indian adaptation of Wechsler's preschool and primary scale of intelligence by Dr. Kumthekar for 4 to 6.5 years children, available both in English and Marathi. Mullin's Intelligence Test for Indian children. It is an adaptation, Indian adaptation of Wechsler's Intelligence Scale for children, version 3, for 6 to 16 years old children, and its adaptation in English is available. Wechsler's Intelligence Scale for Children, 4th version, and Wechsler's Adult Performance Intelligence Scale with Indian norms are good tests in English. Dr. Bhatia's battery of performance tests of intelligence for 10 to 16 years. Ravin's colored progressive matrices for children of 4 to 10 years and standard progressive matrices for children of 10 years and above with Indian norms are good tests to measure intelligence. These tests measure many important aspects of intelligence. Standard intelligence tests measure some aspects of information processing as well. For example, Mullin's test, subtest information measures retention of facts, long-term memory. Then block design test assesses visual integration, visual construction ability. Coding subtest measures visual memory, speed of information processing. So, we have seen about intelligence testing and its description like age group, language of the test and so on. Now, what are the uses and application of intelligence testing? We will see. In diagnosis of intellectual disability, if the child's IQ is below 70, it is called as intellectual disability. Borderline intelligence, giftedness, if the child's IQ is above 130, it is called as giftedness. So, based on these findings, individual educational plan, system of teaching, curriculum, subject or vocation selection could be done. Classification of the students could be made based on the needs of the child based on his intellectual functioning. In diagnosis of learning disability, it is mandatory to assess intelligence first. If the intelligence is above 85, then only we can assess him for learning disability. So, in selection, classification, diagnosis and planning the intervention for the child, intelligence testing or IQ assessment is useful. In this way, we have learnt about intelligence testing, its definition, nature, history, types and application.